Hello, all you amazing, beautiful people out there. This video is Meditation 101, Part 2. So, for those of you that watched Part 1, we went over the benefits, what actually happens whenever we are meditating. And I made it a point to go into, what happens chemically and what is going on in our brain while we meditate. So, for those of you that didn't get to see it, you can find that on our Facebook page. So, this one is going to be about tips and techniques on how to meditate. So if you're watching this, maybe meditation is kind of new to you, maybe you're foreign to it. So the first thing I want to say is there's going to be a lot of trial and error with meditation. Also, it's just like anything else. Anything that you eventually get good at, you get good at by practicing. And meditation's the same way. In the beginning, and I talked about this in the last video, but in the very beginning, whenever I started meditating on a regular basis, I was very frustrated sitting still for 5 minutes. And I found myself over time being able to enjoy that 5 minute. It was my 5 little minute break, and then that 5 minutes grew and until like eventually I'm doing 10 minutes, and I expanded from there, and now I can sit and meditate for an hour and just be completely at ease. It can be completely quiet, and I'm totally comfortable just sitting there, and whenever it's over I feel a lot calmer. um, so if you find yourself getting frustrated, just hang in there. It does take a lot of practice. Most people that I talk to that are really good meditators, I like saying that, I don't know. Um, they all have talked about how there was a moment where, it just wasn't working. It wasn't working for them. And once they figured this out or that out or adjusted this or looked at it from a different perspective, all of a sudden they really started to enjoy meditation. So, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the different types of meditation. Um, I think the reason why there's so many different types is, all through the ages, um, different cultures have meditated in one form or another. And I just think there's different styles because what might work for me may not work for you, and vice versa. Um, I have a lot of friends that meditate in different ways, and for some of them, it's just so simple, so easy. And I'm just looking at them shaking my head, and I'm somebody who does meditate on a regular basis. But it's still, I struggle, and I keep at it. I keep using that style, but there's others ways of meditating that I'm very comfortable with and I relax with. So the way I figured it out was trial and error, just practicing. So if you're frustrated, hang in there. We've all been there, but there's on the other side of this, it is really enjoyable. So make sure that, whatever you're doing in your meditative space, you make it yours. I don't know if you can see it in the background right there. I've got some incense going, just because that really puts me in the right frame of mind. That helps me. I also do things like I light a candle. I'm planning on meditating later today and doing some yoga, and this just kind of gets me in that right frame of mind that this is me time. I'm calming down. So those are some things that can help set your space up before you meditate. Relaxing music, making sure that if there is a blanket you like to lay on or a yoga mat or that kind of deal, that's setting yourself up for success. So no matter what the meditation process is, you're going to be comfortable with it, and you'll still be able to enjoy that time even though you're still new at this and you're trying to expand your meditation. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is mindfulness meditation. I talk about this one a lot. It's one of those forms of meditation that I can do really quickly, and even if it's not 10 minutes, even if it's just a couple of seconds, I'm able to just take a step back from the situation, calm down, and then see it from a different angle. It helps keep me very grounded whenever I do this. So, mindful meditation originates from Buddhist teachings and is a popular form of meditation in the West. In mindfulness meditation, you pay attention to your thoughts as they pass through your mind. You don't judge your thoughts or become involved with them. You simply observe them, take note of any patterns, practice combinations, concentrating with awareness. May find it helpful to focus on an object or your breath while you're observing. So one of the things about this form of meditation is the first thing is you simply observe. This part I find difficult at times to just simply observe because I can get really worked up on it. And I think that's why I like this form of meditation, because it really teaches me to learn not to stress out about things. And especially with right now, with what we're going through, it might be really good for us to just look at these thoughts, acknowledge what they are, but just observe them. Okay, I'm fearful of, this, that, or the other. I understand that now. I'm not going to stress out about it. That's how that thought was affecting me. It was creating fear. What do I really have to be fearful of? So it's a good way to just look at those patterns and behaviors that you exhibit while you're dealing with these strong emotions. Another way that it talks about doing different combinations. Something that I like to do is whenever I'm taking a deep breath, I become very mindful of that breath. How does it feel whenever it's coming into my body? What thought, starts barging in whenever I'm trying to stay very clear-minded and at peace. Well, if it's a stressful thought, then okay, here's where that practice comes in. I'm a third-party observer. I'm just going to see how is it affecting me. I'm going to analyze that thought a little bit. And not that I become obsessed with it, but just enough so I can understand how that affects me. And do I really need to be serving it anything? Do I really need to be feeding that fear or that anxiety or whatever it is I'm dealing with? And the other thing, I'm talking a lot about negative thoughts, but there's also times to where I have done this in good times. I'll use last night as an example. Last night, my kids and I played a board game. We're all under quarantine right now, so I get to do these things with my kids that I didn't have time before. So we played the board game Risk, and it was me and my older two. And there was a moment where we're all busting up laughing, and I, in that moment, I practiced my mindful meditation. I was acknowledging the fact of how good that moment felt, how happy everybody was. I was being an observer. I was taking it in like a sponge and really acknowledging, how good that felt. Really absorbing that inner joy. I liked the way that whenever I analyzed that moment, I really liked how it felt when, how it was serving me, that moment, that feeling, that emotion. So because of that, I really embraced it. And I can really say I was able to really be in that moment because I practiced mindfulness meditation. So it's a good one to practice. It's a little tricky. Like I said, there's times to where it says just to observe, and I do kind of get wrapped up in some emotions. So it has been a really good, useful tool for me. I'm not great at it. I was talking to somebody the other day who does it very fluidly and can really be that third-party observer. And I was a little jealous of them, I'm not going to lie. But it's something that I'm working on, and I still really appreciate this one. The next one I'm going to talk about is spiritual meditation. So spiritual meditation is kind of like prayer. It's whenever you're going to sit there and have your time with the universe or God. It's very popular in Christian religions, but some things that might be used during this time is burning incense or using essential oils. So different incense that I use, because I do this one a lot whenever I'm just trying to have a moment, a timeout. If life is really stressful, I'll use a spiritual meditation for guidance and wisdom, and sometimes just to connect with the universe and the wills that be. Um, and so some of the incense that I just have sitting around my house is these three right here. Not that they're anything particular. I do love sandalwood. Sandalwood is a really good incense to get you grounded. And so is amber. But I use these a lot whenever I meditate, especially for a spiritual meditation. And like I said before, it's kind of setting up my space, my meditative space. It helps me relax a little bit more whenever I go through these ritualistic things. But I also wanted to show you guys some incense. The reason I wanted to show you this is because I've got some that I really, really love for like an oil diffuser. That's another good way that, you know, you're creating that atmosphere to where you can be relaxed and it helps you meditate. So I wanted to show you some of those. But the other thing I wanted to show you is that even though I have my collection, like this is something that really we do practice here at my house. My daughter has her own little collection of essential oils that she uses in her essential oil diffuser. So this is something that I just don't preach, I actually practice it. And you know, enough so to where even my kids value essential oils to help create a calm atmosphere in their rooms. So that's something that can definitely help you whenever you meditate. And so the one thing I will say about spiritual meditation is that you may not be comfortable doing that out in a public place. That's just one of those things. Whenever you're doing mindful meditation, you can just be quiet. You're not saying anything. You're just sitting there being an observer of what's going on. That's a little bit easier to do in a public setting. So again, this is why different forms of meditation are beneficial in, you know, how they are applied in different areas of your life. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is focused meditation. So this is one where the best way I'd explain this one to people is whenever you do your 5 senses. And I recently did a guided meditation like this. I think it was at the end of the last meditation video where I went through the 5 senses. And, you know, whenever you do that, it's really interesting, you know, because you're becoming very mindful of what your atmosphere, what you're surrounded by. And you just become very grounded and very still and very centered. It does involve a high focused concentration on things. So the other thing that this is good for is if you're trying to expand your attention span. So it's one of those things to where you're going to maybe focus on a particular thing, like this candle. So I have these going all the time, and you know, just staring at that flame is a way that you can meditate, you know, the way it moves, and you're just going to focus on it. And maybe, you know, you set a timer for 5 minutes and you spend that 5 minutes focusing on that flame. That, you know, that right there is a form of meditation. It's one of my favorites. If you know, some people, they love bonfires, and you see them staring at that flame. That's what they're doing, whether they acknowledge it or not. They're actually doing a focused meditation on that fire and the way that it moves. That's what I love meditating like that. Another way that you can do focused meditation is, these are tangled up. These are mala beads. And what they are is there's 108 of them. This is actually a newer form of meditation that I've just started doing. And so you go through each one, and as you go through each one, you're just going to focus on the way that it feels. You can also do, as you're focusing on this, you can also add a mantra. We're going to talk about mantras here in a bit. But you're going to go through each one. And if you're doing a mantra with it, as your fingers pass each one, you're going to say that mantra of, whether it is, I am powerful and I am strong, or you can say the same one over and over again. And so, that's a form of focused meditation. And you don't even have to say anything. You can just really notice how it feels and go through the entire necklace. And by the time you get through all of these, your mindset is quite a bit different. So, they have different types to where, like, these beads are made out of wood. They're very smooth, and this is Amazonite. And it's a little bit of a different texture. So depending on, how I would be using it, it might be different for each person. So you might want a different type, is my point. This particular one I really like because of the fact I can feel each bead. The beads are a little bit bigger. But, whenever I'm doing a focused meditation, this particular one is made out of Amazonite, and it has, different healing properties. So if I'm doing a focused meditation on this particular one, I'm getting something else out of it. So, whatever item you choose to put your focus on, again, make it personal to you so that way you can enjoy it a little bit more. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is movement meditation. Movement meditation is a little bit difficult for me. I do practice it just because I think it's good for me to understand that I can be calm and peaceful even though my body is active. I don't have to be sitting still for my mind to be still. So I do continue to practice this, but this is a huge struggle for me. The ways you can practice movement meditation is like yoga or Qigong. A lot of people may think yoga is just for stretching, but actually it's more to that. You're really listening to your body whenever you're doing those poses. You're putting yourself in an uncomfortable position and then listening to your body. That's also a time to where, if anybody has practiced yoga at some point, you've got some intrusive thoughts to where, you shouldn't be focusing on that. You should be listening to your body. So it is a form of meditation. A lot of people that are long distance runners, they use meditation whenever they're running just to get to those marathon type of finishes. I'm somebody that does do a lot of running. I just started back again, but I meditating during running, it almost makes it painful. And I know that's one of the things that I have to get past. So just understand that even with me being comfortable with meditation, there are certain times to where I get frustrated, and it's one of those things that I just keep practicing at. For a less endurance type of movement, going for a walk and being, just observing the walk. I may not be good at running and meditating, but I love to hike. And for me, I hike a lot alone. And, even whenever I have people go with me, I'm almost particular about who I let tag along, because part of my thing I enjoy about hiking is being quiet and being still. And as I go through that walk, being observing of my surroundings and taking it in. And that's a form of movement meditation. So, you don't have to be one of those long distance runners. You don't have to be somebody who does yoga. You can just be, going for a walk through your park, and that's a form of meditation. All right. So these next two are, can get confused with each other. So I'm going to try to explain it well enough, and hopefully I do a good enough job. So the next one I'm going to talk about is mantra meditation. I mentioned it earlier whenever I was talking about the beads. But mantra meditation is whenever you have a word or a phrase A lot of Buddhist monks, you'll hear them do the Om, Om. They repeat that sound over and over and over again. And so it doesn't have to be that type of mantra that you do. It could be just something as simple as I am loved, and saying that over and over again. I am loved. I am loved. And really focusing on that word and really embracing whatever that word or phrase means to you. And really feeding your spirit and your soul that good positive vibes that you're trying to bring in during this meditation. It doesn't have to be said out loud. It could be said in your headspace to yourself. Repeated over and over again. So, it's kind of like a chant, but really embracing what that meaning is. The next one I'm going to talk about is transcendental meditation. This one's a little bit different. So there was a mantra I was using, and I was doing it. It was more of a mantra meditation, and the one I was using was Om Kleem. And I kept saying that over and over again. I was using the beads while I was doing it. I was, Om Kleem, Om Kleem. And what Om Kleem means, it means to attract love. And it's the love that the universe wants you to have. It means that you are going to be open to it. It's not about having everybody love you, love you, love you. It's about getting your spirit and mind and body and soul completely ready to absorb, to catch all the love that the universe has for you. So I was using this meditation quite often, and I would say it to myself over and over again, just thinking of me being this great big net, catching all of this love that the universe is pouring out to me, and that's how I was thinking about it. Well, after a while, I started to notice that about a couple days after doing this meditation, I noticed that there was this almost trance to me saying, Om Kleem, Om Kleem, Om Kleem. Eventually, I started to notice that my body was kind of vibrating a little bit, and I wasn't exactly focusing on the meaning. I was enjoying how the word felt as I was saying it. Okay, so that's the difference between mantra meditation and transcendental meditation. It's saying that, getting lost in the sound of saying that word and just staying there. So that's the difference between the two. They're very similar, but they are a little bit different. All right, so I've got about 5 minutes left here. Let me see if I've gone over everything that I wanted to. All right, so a couple of more things is that I wanted to talk about having a routine whenever you meditate. That really helps. If you're really wanting to get comfortable with meditation, a good way to do it is to set up times, just the same way you wake up, you brush your teeth, just the same way as before you go to bed. Whatever that time frame is that you're going to dedicate to meditation, make that dedication to yourself, because you need to. So there for a while, my little one would wake up super early in the morning, like before anybody was up, and he would run downstairs and he'd climb in bed with me. So the problem with this was that I was waking up with a 5-year-old in my bed every single day. And that's whenever I do my first meditation. I may not have an hour in my day to set aside to meditate, but I do have 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there. And, at the end of the day, I get the meditation that I need. But there for a while, my little one, for about 2 months straight, was climbing in bed, and it was throwing my entire routine off. So we now have that all situated. He's now staying in his own bed. But I had to get back into, in the morning, I'm not going to jump up. I'm not going to run. I'm actually setting my alarm with enough time to where I can meditate before I have to get up and do anything. So instead of hitting that snooze button, I force myself to get up. Now I'm to the point where I wake up on my own naturally. But I set myself up with at least 10 minutes, 5 minutes to wake up, 10 minutes to meditate. And I think about my day, and I think about what I want to bring to it. And I want to think about how I want to go about it. And I think about maybe the people that I want to connect with. So, I think send them love. That's what I start thinking about. And so, maybe that's a form of praying for others, maybe. But it's really a way for me to get ready for my day. And then I sit there quietly without going back to sleep. I just sit there quietly and I soak up all the goodness that this day has for me. And then I go about my day. I also make sure that I do it at night. I make sure that I go over all of my chakras at night. I start with my crown and I go through each one of my chakras and, make sure that they're good, open, balanced, and centered, and, take care of all of that good stuff. And sometimes I don't make it through all of them. Sometimes I fall asleep pretty quickly. Sometimes if there's a certain chakra that I feel like I need to linger on a little bit, maybe it's my heart, I might fall asleep with my hand on my chest. And sometimes I get through them all and just roll over and go to sleep. But I make sure that I give myself that ending. I want to make sure I'm going to bed the way I need to. I want to make sure I'm waking up the way I want to. And the way I want to wake up is in a good, positive mood. Even with that being said, though, I want to make it a point I want to point out the fact that even with me taking the time to meditate during the day and at night, there are still times to where I'm like, I just need to be still for a while. And so I'll throw in an extra one. I might listen to a guided meditation. You can find those on YouTube. You can find them on Google Music. You can find some really good ones. And there's even some on the page, on the Tranquility page. And I'm going to start putting out more. But you can find ones that are just audio. You can find ones that are videos. You can also, do things like if you feel like you really need to meditate, but maybe you feel like your body's feeling a little stiff, you can look at a yoga video and just look at it from the aspect of meditation instead of an exercise. That's something that's really helpful too. So don't be surprised if there's times to where it just doesn't feel like enough. Those are the times you need to do it most. There's a really good quote that that says you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for an hour. And that is so true. And the reason, and that may seem crazy, but the reason is if you're really busy, that means your brain is working on overload. That means it's gone nonstop. So on those busy days, you're gonna need that downtime to rest. This is something that a lot of us just push ourselves, and then sit like zombies in front of the TV. And yeah, that's fun and enjoyable. I watch TV too, but there are times to where I just have to sit still and let my brain decompress. And now I find enjoyment in it. The best way to get started on meditation for those of you that are new to it, get yourself in a comfortable position. It doesn't have to be in a lotus position. You don't have to lay down. You're just going to get yourself comfortable. So you could be sitting at a desk, but if you're one of those people that really enjoy meditation laying down, that's what's for you. Like, please do it. Like in the mornings, I'm laying down. Whenever I'm doing an extra meditation, though, I don't lay down because I'm too afraid I'll fall asleep, so I make sure that I'm sitting up some way. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's even been times where I've been standing in line somewhere and been stressed out and, had to take a moment and, calm myself up. So you can even meditate standing. But either way, you just want to get yourself comfortable if you're new to this. Grab a blanket, a pillow, whatever you need, because you're going to be there for 5 minutes, so make it your 5 minutes of enjoyment. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths, relaxing your body. Open your eyes again, and then close your eyes again. Your eyes will keep your eyes closed for as long as you can. There were some studies that showed that 10 minutes a day, your body starts to really feel the effects of meditation. And if you're not there yet, just keep practicing. If you're only at 5 minutes, that's all you can handle. Keep going with that 5 minutes, and just add 2 minutes to it every now and then. And eventually, you're going to be up to 20 minutes before you know it. So, you can repeat a mantra to yourself. You can just sit quietly and observe your thoughts. You can do yoga. We've talked about a bunch of different ways for you guys to meditate. So I'm sure there's one that you can find for you. Then whenever you're done with whatever, if you're in a calming, deep trance meditation, just make sure that whenever you get up, you acknowledge how your body's feeling. You kind of do a body scan. Gently wake yourself up, moving your fingers and toes, and then go about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was breath work. So breath work is a really powerful tip that I use, a technique that I use to help me meditate. There's bunches of different types of breath work that you can use. There's triangle breathing, box breathing, and some of them are like triangle breathing is, you take a deep breath for, 3 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, let it go for 3 seconds, and then you can, go from there. There's, you can Google all of that, the breath work, even just taking 5 deep breaths, 3 deep breaths, whatever it may be for you, taking that deep breath, holding it for a moment, and letting it go as slowly as you can. That's something that I do. And when I'm letting it go, I'm pushing out all that stress, tension I'm feeling. That's a really good way to help me stay focused. The reason I bring up breath work is because sometimes if I'm doing a focused meditation where I'm trying to be that non-judgment, third-party observer of my thoughts, and I start getting stressed out, or might start getting a little emotional about things whenever I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be just the observer. I use breath work, and it really helps me bring myself back down, calm myself back down. I focus on my breath, and I can get back into that meditation with the right frame of mind that I should be having. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope you all enjoy meditating. If you have any questions, let me know. I am going to be on here in a little bit, hopefully today sometime, maybe tomorrow, with a guided meditation. But I've already gone over 30 minutes, so I'm going to cut it off. Love you all. Please stay safe out there. Namaste.